Welcome to Burn the Ship. Thank you for coming, first of all. I appreciate it very much. Anybody that gives the time and the energy to myself and the audience, it means a lot to us. I wanted to say that up front. Thank you very much for being a part of Burn the Ship. Our goal here with Burn the Ship is to connect entrepreneurs or professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners. And our job is to package up some of those experiences and bottle up some of those skills and give them to you guys so we can make the small business, navigating a small business a little bit easier. So, again, thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your business?
Yeah, Brock Warner. I am the founder, managing partner of Become World Class, which is a coaching business for small business owners and leadership teams.
Sure. So tell me a little bit of a story. Kind of how did you get into what you're doing now?
Yeah, yeah, it's a long story, but I'll keep it short. But 30 years in what I call corporate life, but you know what I found myself doing in almost every company I was in was being entrepreneurial. I was brought on to help us grow, to build sales teams or to build marketing structures. And the more that I did that, the more that I figured out that I needed to kind of start doing things on my own. So my first foray was buying a roofing franchise. So I own Mighty Dog Roofing as well as the business coaching practice. And so, like a lot of your listeners, I'm a CEO. I'm a founder. I'm a little bit crazy. The title of your podcast certainly makes sense because I've burned the ships twice now, starting Become World Class as a way to almost help myself because I see the things that others are going through. Then obviously taking everything I've learned over 30 years to help those who are starting their own ventures.
Sure. Um, so I'm assuming starting a business was so much fun the first time that you just had to do it again. I'm assuming
Yeah,
that that's kind of the inspiration here.
yeah, I actually, what I didn't tell you in those 30 years outside the corporate life was I also started a number of companies. I
Mm.
started everything from a wound care company, bringing a product in from France, to a mental health care company, working within nursing homes back in the 90s when the government shut down the ability to medicate patients. All of a sudden, you had all these behavior problems in the facilities and they need to fix it. And so, but all of the, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I burned the ships and wish I'd left the ship. But some of those things didn't go as well. But yeah, no, I'm thrilled with it. I think what I learned, and I'm learning even now, and I'm helping people with, is I don't think back then I had the mindset to become an entrepreneur. I had the skills, I certainly had the grit and the want to, but the mindset was the missing piece. And I'm starting to learn that even I'm 57 years old. 57 years old, if you're not learning, you're dying, literally. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now.
What are some of I think you learn a lot as a CEO, right? And you learn a lot as a business owner and working inside your own business. But I think even more so working with other entrepreneurs and picking up some of the things that they do well and identifying patterns of what people could be doing poorly that results in the challenges that we constantly see in the small business world. I think you learn a lot from that perspective, right? Being able to work with and analyze a lot of those different systems and different people.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of those patterns that you've begun to recognize? Like, what do you see a lot as a good starting place for some new entrepreneurs to try to add to their bag and make their life a little easier on the business side?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's multiple, obviously. Again, back to the mindset issue. I always used to ask myself, how in the world are these guys going through these rough times? Because I was usually side by side with them, but it wasn't my money. It wasn't my family that was invested. I wasn't using my home as leverage. None of those things were happening to me. I was an employee at the time. And so I always wondered kind of what is it that keeps them going? It was mindset. I think the other thing that I'm learning is they had mentors. Today we might call them a coach, or they might have personal mentors. They might have had groups of people that they could go talk to help them kind of out of those ditches that they found themselves in. Today, it's actually really confusing, to be frank. I mean, guys your age, you get the digital marketing, you get the digital age, you understand all the workings of that. For someone like me, who I understood it when I was in the corporate life, but I always had people doing it with me. I would have some crazy harebrained idea. They would bring that to life through digital. Um, so now having to do that and understand it and learn it is something that, yeah, that's a huge piece. And I would say a lot of owners, founders who are younger than me and are digital natives are ahead of me. I get it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not one of these dudes that runs away from it and wants to go back to the newspaper. But I certainly think that those are skills that some entrepreneurs are bringing to the table today that are helping me learn about my own business.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's a ever evolving thing. It's like you said, if you're not learning, you're dying. I think that's true. Or I guess it's kind of exacerbated by small business in general, right? Because you're in this field and you're putting yourself into something, you're putting a lot of time and effort and energy into something that is always going to change, right? The rules are always going to change, who your ideal customer is going to change, or maybe you're adding pieces on top of it to make your company more valuable or provide a better solution to the people that you're working with. But it is true that if you're not continuing to learn about your industry and about business in general, that you absolutely are putting yourself at a disadvantage because business changes so much. What,
Yep.
how long do you think it kind of takes to make that shift in a mindset, to become world class? How much feeding of the brain does that take?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I mean, there's obviously more books than we, would care to read that are out there about those things. But, I think primarily it's finding a system that you believe in that allows you to kind of get your business to a place where you're not in the operations of it. The only way to become world class, in my opinion, is you first start with the owner. You get them healthy, both in their personal life and in their business life, the way they're running the company. And then you help them hand off a lot of the operational things to the people that they've hired to do that. So obviously, if you're a solopreneur, that's a different question. But I deal mostly with folks who they've already got 10 people to 250 people. They already have 2 or 3 million in revenue, and now they're trying to figure out how do I make those next steps. And got 125, 100, yeah, 125 years ago, John Rockefeller wrote the 10 Habits of World Class Companies, and they're out there. Every company that you would think of that is world class runs on them, whether they can repeat them or not. And yeah, I became passionate about those as an executive that implemented different systems and strategies to make sure that we could run that way.
Absolutely. From your experience as an entrepreneur, what are some of the things that you've done well that helped you grow your business?
Hire great people. I mean, right off the top, hire great people and do your best to let them do what you hired them to do. In the roofing company, I hired a guy who had never been in the roofing business, but he had done some great things in other ancillary businesses, and I hired him. And quite frankly, I mean, he makes the business. I run it like a visionary. I am kind of a quick start, crazy guy with all kinds of ideas. And he's a little more data oriented, a little more process oriented, but also personable. So I've always believed, and I'm dabbling with this now in my own world and trying to figure out how to define this as I coach people. There is an ability to see the magnificence within others that we need in our culture actually to kind of build up. Because if you lose that as a leader, you're not only losing it usually with yourself first, but then you lose it in your ability to see your leaders that way, find out what makes them tick and what is their greatness that they carry in. And so, yeah, I think the biggest thing for me so far has been people. We're startups, so we're still growing. They need to be flexible. Not everybody can deal with the type of change that I bring to an environment because I'm such a visionary and an innovator. But if you learn about your people in a way that you can help them understand what change is coming, how it's good for them, then that also will build your business faster.
Yeah, for sure. And with learning the personalities of your people and putting a lot of your, not wealth, but a lot of your value in your company and your relationships with your customers based on the people that you hire, how, it's such an integral thing. How do you coach someone on being able to identify something in a person that is going to be able to bring value to their organization?
Yeah, I appreciate that question because I actually have a certification as a consultant with a group called Colby. It's Kolbe. And what Colby does different than anyone else is they actually assess how you do, how you problem solve. So everything else that I've always been used to was personality, to your point. So it's DISC or Myers-Briggs or Enneagram, any of those that are out there. They're all great tools, but they're all testing the same thing. Colby is the only one that tests for what's called the cognitive part of the brain. How do you do your work? And I'll give you a great example. So I do this. So I'm trying to drink my own Kool-Aid, right? So I tested my people. And what we found was I thought my GM, who's also a great salesman, I thought he would be more like me. Super quick start, super innovative. And what we found was he is very much into data. Like his mode of solving a problem is to go to research first. My mode is to go to brainstorming. What that allowed us to do, I asked him the question. I said, so let me say this. And I asked him the question. When I come up with a harebrained idea and you say yes, that's putting a lot of stress on you, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, we've been together 2 years. He said, yeah, it really does. I'm like, all right, here's what's going to happen from that. Now that I know how you work, I'm going to give you a week to figure out whether or not my harebrained idea is a good idea, because I'll throw six out in a day. And man, I mean, the release of stress from his body was palpable. You could see it. And now over the months that we've been working this way, man, he's kept me out of ditches. He's allowed me to go forward because now he's researched and he's comfortable, and I value his opinion. So, yeah, to your point, figuring out the do part of a person is equally, or in my opinion, maybe a little bit more important than just the personality. Because I can like you, Bailey, but you still might do it in a way that's different than I wanted you to, or I actually prepared the job for. If I know all those things, I can start to create right fits.
Sure. What do you see has been some of the biggest obstacles that you've had to overcome through the process of growing your own businesses?
Probably myself. I mean, there's certainly competition. I don't have a scarcity mindset, so I'm not afraid. I believe in abundance. I'm not, you know, we went, I started looking at the roofing company and I was like, man, this is awesome. I'm going to do such great stuff in Nashville. You realize there's probably 1,000 roofers in Nashville, right? It's that part of your brain when you buy the greatest red sports car you ever wanted, and it's the only one until you start thinking about it, and now you see all the red sports cars, right? Your brain just opens up the RAS system and you see them all. So that happens in roofing. So I'm not worried about scarcity, not worried about competitors. We have great ones and they do good work. So it's at some level, it's probably me. If I have to be honest, it's my mindset. It's struggling with, the days that are hard, and not trying to say that I'm having one hard day and that means the next 6 years are going to be hard. How do you get out of that? What are the practices that you put in place in order to get yourself to, and understand this is a moment in time?
What is it that you did in your previous life that made you develop that sense of being, feeling prepared to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's a great question. I had a couple of mentors, but usually for me, I'm like a lot of people. I'm not special, but I'm very tough on myself. High performers are constantly like that, right? You probably do that to yourself. And what I didn't know was how damaging that was. And because I would have people say all the time, I don't even CEOs that I was working for would be like, man, I don't understand why you think that way. And I didn't know how to get out of it. And so really, Bailey, it's been the last couple of years. I wish I'd learned all this in my 30s and 40s. It's the last couple of years where I've started to learn, okay, the brain it's a crazy, crazy animal inside of us. And it wants to protect, and its natural instinct is to go negative because it's trying to pull back, it's trying to protect. We're worried about saber-tooth tigers. Those aren't here anymore. So stop it. And yeah, I would say over the last year and a half, I've hired coaches. I mean, again, drinking my own Kool-Aid. I have mental coaches who help me and work me through things. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you know the analogy of the bison? Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
fascinated with this. It's super cool, and it's not new. It's new to me. So storms come across the plains in say Colorado, and as the storm is coming across, the dairy cow, the beef cattle, will go east with the storm. They'll immediately instinctively turn. The bison, the entire herd turns into the storm because it knows instinctively as a creative creature to go into the storm because it knows that's the fastest way out. And so I try now every day. I'm like, dude, be a bison because you know it's coming. None of this is easy. What you do isn't easy. What your listeners do isn't easy. But do you have the capacity and the capability to turn into the storm? And quite frankly, do you have coaches that can help you do that? And some of us are business coaches with a mindset approach. Some of us are business or life coaches. Some of us are just mentors. But someone's got to be in your life to help you be a bison.
Yeah, that is fascinating. I've never heard that actually.
It's really cool.
I appreciate you sharing that with me. Who, if you had to kind of build this profile of your ideal client, where are they in that journey in their business? Are they in a specific industry? Is it a certain amount of time that they've been in that? Like, where are they at specifically that lets you know that you would be a good fit?
Yeah, that avatar. So when I began this, I thought, okay, it's a 40-year-old man or woman who is probably 2, 3 years in. They've kind of come through some really tough startup stuff, and they're still a startup by nature, but now they want to scale. Now they want to take that next level, get to that next plateau, if you will. And that's still kind of there. But every time I meet with one of these people and tell them what I do, I get pulled into their leadership team. So I want to continue to kind of broaden that a little bit, but that's probably where I would start. Um, yeah, I mean they're open to coaching. I coached high level club soccer for about 15 years. I'm a nationally licensed coach, and a lot of what I did there applies here. And one of the things is, are you coachable? In the business world, a lot of it's are you accountable, but are you a coachable, accountable person? I try when I talk with people, I try to figure out if they're a fit for me too, because yeah, I'm going to push for sure. You talk about personalities. I'm an Enneagram 8, man. I
Hmm.
challenge everything. And so I, I'm going to do that. Are you coachable? And am I the right person or personality for you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, how do people find you if they're interested in working with you or they want to buy something from you? Where do they go to locate you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Right now, they find me on LinkedIn. That's the best place to find me. Search Brock Warner. I usually pop up right at the top. You can look at my company on LinkedIn as well, Become World Class. And then, email wise, Brock at becomeworldclass.com is there for the taking.
Well, I'm excited about where you're headed. I'm excited to try and find some people in my network to connect you with as well. I mean,
That'd
it's
be
a big
great.
thing. I say it a lot on the podcast, but I love what you do. And really, just kind of relating to you and my own story. When I came in and I started my journey as a salesperson, um, I very much was in the pattern of what your brain's natural reaction is, right? Is to be scared to ask for money and nervous to sell things and fearful of rejection and all of those things like what we experience those because it's normal human behavior
Yep. Yep.
for you to react in a way that you feel like is going to protect where you are, right? And so um, having found some mentors and worked with some people in many different industries, I began to appreciate the owner of my company in the way that his vision worked because he was always very forward about the idea of like, I cannot micromanage you. It is the reason that we have a sales team leader because that is not the way my brain works, is agonizing over the little things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. I
Right.
will always help you close the deals you need to close. I'll always help you find solutions for your clients as problems arise. But the ability to micromanage and look over your shoulder at what you're doing is not my strength. And so it gave me some respect for the ability to be a visionary and think large and take opportunities and bring them back to him and say, well, have you thought about this, about, this specific deal? It can turn into something a lot more than what you're looking at face value, right? There's value in that. And learning how to direct that energy in a good place and use it as an effective tool to grow your business and grow the solutions that you bring to your client is learned behavior. You know what I mean? It's things that you learn over time from experiences that you have with different people and overcoming different obstacles. So I can relate to what you're saying really from my own experience is that um, I came in with that normal mindset and fear of rejection in the sales world, and you have to find a way to overcome that. And the really what you're rooted in your coaching program is very specific to those needs. So I can relate.
Yeah, and back to kind of what you were saying at the beginning as a sales person, the training that we in the sales world, both I hired and had, and you had, and the training that we do is very good. It's very tactical. Some of them get to the strategic level, but there's almost no mindset training. It's okay, man, you're just gonna have to grit and grind. Well, that's true, but you have to train your brain to grit and grind because it's gonna reject that
Yeah.
right
Oh
away.
yeah.
It's gonna protect. And so, for me, it's listening to people like Ed Millett and Mel Robbins and Tony Robbins and these folks who can teach you what your brain does and teach you techniques to get out of those times where you get super anxious or you get, overwhelmed with worry. Those are the types of things that, along with really great world-class systems, because keep in mind, this is a key to it. The number one Rockefeller habit is the executive team is healthy and aligned. All right. Most people go to healthy as we like each other, we communicate well. It's not what it's talking about. It's talking about you're mentally healthy, you're personally healthy, you're physically healthy, and everyone on the team is that way. And you're aligned with the vision, you're aligned with the goals, all those kinds of things. But what I have found all of my career being on executive teams is we could typically get to the point where we aligned personally, or someone would just be gone. You get to the point where you can tell people, hey, you're being a jerk, stop being a jerk. That's a good place to be because it's healthy communication. But one was because we didn't know how the other actually worked to solve a problem. And one was because we didn't have mindset coaches. We didn't have this idea of, oh crap, I need help. Um, and it's not just therapists and counselors, they're great too, but it's also understanding the science of the brain.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, tell me this. What does it feel like to burn the ship and go all in on your business? It's kind of the way that we always end the podcast here, but
Yeah.
um, I think a lot of the people in the audience are probably in their first 6 months in business or maybe even in their first couple of years, or they're those people that are, 6 months away from starting their business and they're really just trying to ingest content that helps them build a better playbook of what it looks like to start this business. But, from an emotional and a life perspective, what is the gratification that you get out of being an entrepreneur, and why should other people seek that same experience out?
Yeah, every time I've gotten into it, well, I say every time, it's probably not true. That when I got into become world class, my first thought was, okay, this will be my way, right? This is going to be my next 15, 20 years of life. I'm going to be doing this for people because of what I've learned. And it was at some level, it was about, okay, I'll figure out I can make this much money. And man, pretty quickly I realized, Simon Sinek and everything else I've gone through. I was like, I got it. And my why is not that. That'll happen or it won't. But my why can't be how much money I'm going to make. And my why needs to be who can I serve and how can I help. And so burning the ship. Yeah, I mean, I one of the things that the Colby helped me do and understand was my personality, the way I'm built. I need to trust my gut. And like the assessment that came back with me, the person who helped me was like, you 90% of the time, Brock, you need to trust your gut and you need to go. And if you end up in a situation in a business where they're not allowing that for you, you actually need to leave that company because your gut is really, really good. You're just instinctually prepared to move forward. That was encouraging. You got to have a good support system. I mean, for me, it's my wife. I have adult daughters. It's my daughters. Sometimes you need to be told, back to the mindset, hey man, you got this, and you're really good at it. And you also, financially, it's a strain on your family, so they need to be in. And my wife is amazing and is behind me 100% in both ventures, which surprised me because she's not a risk taker, but she sees something in me that I can kind of you know, put my feet on. It can be a foundation for what I do. Um, yeah, I mean, and then you just eventually you got to burn the ship, and that so it's a good question for me because I bought the roofing company thinking I would stay in a corporate career and I would basically semi absentee manage that business, and it was okay, but what I realized was once I'd given myself the CEO title, I couldn't work for someone else and
Right.
not be the CEO. I just and it was bad for both of us because I see all the things that could change, and I didn't have at those in those moments the full capacity I didn't have the runway or the I don't know I don't know what word I'm looking for, but I couldn't do it myself because there were other people that were supposed to be doing those things.
Yeah. And it's a journey that you go through, and it's really like this light switch moment, right? Where it wonders itself upon you, where you say, this is the breaking point for me. I have to go and take care of these things because nobody else is going to do them, and there's things that I need to figure out, and I can't delegate those things correctly without some understanding of some of them myself. So I can see how that experience turned itself into the coaching side of your business for you as well. It's a hop, skip, and away. But I love what you do. I love that you
Right.
support other entrepreneurs and business owners, and I love where your mindset is at. And it is, obvious that that mindset has been developed over years of training yourself to, um, do what you do well, right? Years of
Yep.
training yourself and putting in the time and effort and energy that is required of you to be able to withstand what you experience as an entrepreneur. So I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you coming on
Yeah.
Burn the Ship.
Thanks
If
for
you
the
have
time.
anything to leave the audience with, please, the platform and the floor is yours. But I just encourage everybody to burn the ship. Take a chance on your business. If there's any asset or value that I can bring to you, or any questions that maybe we can answer, we're more than we're more than willing to hop on the phone with you and try to bring some value to you in that way, because you're right, it's not easy. There's nothing about business that's easy, but if you put in the time and the work and the effort, some of the most successful entrepreneurs that we know are normal people. They go through normal things in their daily life, and they work really, really hard to overcome those things so that they can be successful entrepreneurs. And there are people out there in the community that want to bring that same value to you. So thank you for coming again, Brock. It does mean a
Thanks.
lot.
Thanks.
And like I
Yep.
said, if you have anything to leave people with, just so your final thoughts, go ahead. But that's what I
Yeah.
got. I think we've accomplished what we set out to do here.
Cool. Yeah, I think the thing that I would say is this. I get a lot of people that say, okay, why do I need a coach? And my answer is it's broad. Steph Curry has two shooting coaches. Tiger Woods has had a swing coach 10 times during his career. Every tennis player, pro tennis player, has a swing coach and a mental coach. And I guess my question, and this was to me, because I have coaches. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. My question to me was, who do I think I am that I can run a business without a coach? You're going to come to a place where you need somebody else, where questions come up and you don't know where to turn, where you're having a struggle in your mindset, you don't know where to turn, and you feel isolated and lonely. And I know that because I've been in it, and I get into it even in my current um, companies. So I guess that's my big thing is most of us had coaches all growing up. And then for some reason we thought, I don't need one anymore. I got this. And my experience is, yeah, you're really smart and you do have the skills, but man, if you could get a coach, sky's the limit.
I agree.
That's it.
I agree. And like I said, any value that we can be in that journey to anyone out there that's really looking forward to working hard on their business and being a successful entrepreneur, we can help you find those people. And like I said, I look forward to connecting you with some people, Brock. I think what you do is
Thanks,
great.
man.
So,
Appreciate it.
cool. Thank you. I appreciate you coming
Thanks,
again.
man.
Burn the ship.
Yep, you bet.